Welcome to the Eurostep Brit podcast.
Game's going to be decided here. Harold spots up. Doesn't go. Putback is good! Roberto Gallina with a second chance opportunity. Aris lead. Per Gunther for three. Got it. Per Gunther drei Punkte. Courage inside. For Gordon for the dunk. Ball game.
Hello, and welcome to episode 13 of the Eurostep Brit podcast. We'll call this one From Aberdeen to Perth. This week, we welcome Mike Vigor, who was a fan favourite during his time with the Bristol Flyers. Mike spent 4 seasons in the UK with both the Flyers and the Plymouth Raiders. In this episode, we'll not only look back at those years, but his career as a whole, and the time he represented Scotland at the Commonwealth Games. And we'll discuss the state of basketball in Australia to get an insight into the game's growth down under. Mike was another one of the names suggested to me to get on the podcast, and I was delighted he agreed to take part. It's not easy when the interviewer and interviewee are multiple time zones apart, but we found both a time and a way to make it work. Now, before we get going, if you have any more suggestions for future guests, please get in touch. Can't guarantee anything, but I like reading your suggestions. And you never know, I might just get them on. As for those suggestions, I'm easy to find on social media, and the podcast now has its own dedicated Blue Sky account. Anyhow, without further ado, let's get to it.
Mike, welcome to the podcast. It's really great to have you on. We put out a request for who would you like to be on there, and your name came up. So I'm absolutely delighted that you've agreed to come on to the podcast today. Just want to take a look back over your career. If I'm right, you were born in Scotland and you moved to Australia at an early age. Would that be right?
Yeah, correct. I lived a little bit all over really. I was born in Scotland, Aberdeen, and then I left when I was 5, and we went to Jakarta, Indonesia. Then came to Perth, Australia, Western Australia. Then we left again, went to Dubai for 2 years, Singapore, and then back to Perth, Australia, which we are now settled.
So you're well travelled in your lifetime then. Obviously, the travelling, where and when did you first pick up a basketball?
It wasn't actually till I moved back to Australia the second time when I think I was year 9, and I was going to a high school called Wesley College, and I was about 6'4", and so someone was like, maybe you should pick up a basketball, and that's kind of where it all started.
So I'm an old fart. So year 9, so you're early teens.
Yeah, maybe like 13, 14.
And you're over 6 foot already.
Yeah.
And did you find a love for it straight away, or you just enjoyed it, or it was just a pastime at that stage?
Yeah, no, I loved it straight away. I was down where one of the state leagues were training afterwards. I was shooting around, and someone sort of picked me out, but I wasn't very good at the start. I was quite skinny and kind of a little bit all over the place, a bit like Bambi on ice, I guess. And it didn't really click till a bit later on, and when the body started to fill out and started to improve sort of later, sort of 18s and under 20s level.
And when did basketball come seriously part of your life, and you wanted to do this?
Probably after under 18s. I had a coach that sort of believed in me, and he was part of the state league program, and I thought once I got to that level, I thought, why not try see how far we can go with it? So, I was lucky enough to make it pretty far, and had a pretty good career. So I was fortunate to take the leap of faith, I guess.
And this is all in Perth. So you were with the Redbacks, and then you had a spell with the Wildcats, who are an NBL side.
Yeah, correct. So started straight after what we call Wobble over here, which is the West Australian Basketball League for the juniors, and that feeds into what was the SPL, the State Basketball League, which is now called the NBL 1, which is kind of a feeding system for the NBL League. So it's kind of second division over here. But yeah, I managed to play at the top level in the National Basketball League for the Wildcats. I was lucky enough to win one with them as well in 2014, I believe. And then, get to play overseas once that sort of came to an end. And sort of played in a few countries. Lucky enough to play in the UK and at Plymouth and Bristol with the Flyers, and then on to Italy for a year, and then yeah, here we are.
You're jumping ahead for me. I'll tell you, so obviously you played for Perth Wildcats. Then am I pronouncing this right? Bendigo Braves, is that correct?
Bendigo Braves, yeah, that's on the east coast of Australia, where I met my wife.
And then from there, you came to Plymouth. Now, there was a sort of Aussie connection at Plymouth in those days. How did that opportunity to come to the UK come about?
It was actually probably from the Bendigo Braves as well. So I played with Josh Wiltshire at the Braves, and he had a UK passport. He had a British passport, and he'd previously played for Reading and was signed to play at Plymouth for the Raiders. And he sort of said to me, "Why don't you message a few coaches, because he knew I had the Scottish passport or the British passport as well." And so I just messaged a few coaches, and luckily enough, one of them was Plymouth that was interested as well.
So was that Daryl Coletto or someone else who reached out to you?
It was Jay Marriott back then.
And you come in to play for Plymouth. Obviously, Josh is on the team, Daryl's on the team. Nice little group of Australians. And did that help you settle at all?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely probably the style of basketball as well. It was very Australian, sort of two-man, three-man game. That makes any sense to you, but the sort of the style of play definitely helped when guys were sort of moving the ball, and I thought it fitted in nicely with the culture as well, and knowing a few of them, and obviously playing with Josh, so things went well for me there.
I was thinking Adrian Sturt would have been on that team as well, wouldn't he? Did you know, apart from Josh, did you know any of these guys from your time in Australia?
No. I played against a few of them, like Daryl. He was playing for the New Zealand Breakers in the NBL at the time, so I played against him once or twice, but no, I hadn't met any of them until I got over to Plymouth. Josh was the only one.
So after another season back down under, you then came to the focus for today, Bristol Flyers. How did that opportunity come about for you?
I remember after having my first year at Plymouth, I had a message from a few clubs seeing what I was doing the following year. And I'd heard a lot of good things about Bristol and Coach Kapoulis. And yeah, ended up making the move across the south to the Southwest Derby team, I guess, and really loved my time there. Yeah.
So you moved from one rival to another, because they were rivals back in those days. Did you ever get any grief from the Plymouth fans after you moved?
Yeah, a couple
Or
of
friendly
games.
banter, shall we call it?
Yeah. No, it was definitely banter, but I had a few boos some games, but also some applause some games as well down in the pavilions. But some battles and some good rivalry games definitely. Even on both sides, even my first year in Plymouth, sort of having to hate Bristol and then going to Bristol and having to hate Plymouth, it was a bit of a bit contradictory, I guess.
You're a player, you can do that. That's easy enough. I reached out to Joel Osborne to ask him what was his favourite memory of yours from when you played for the Flyers. And ironically, it's a game that I actually did a commentary with him as well. I don't know if you remember, it was in your early days, you had this game against Manchester Giants, and it was a close game after half time. And then you came along and you sunk 3 3-pointers in under a minute of game time. Do you remember that at all?
Yeah, I do remember it. I have seen the highlight, and I've had this conversation with Joel before previously. So yeah, no, it was I do remember the game. I remember the highlight very well. I had a few lovely passes from Hamid Ali, but yeah, it was definitely flowing there.
I'd say it's just you turned the game round. It was 2 points, and then suddenly it's 11, and they've had to call timeout because you've broken the game open. But it's funny that we both remember the same great moment of yours for the Flyers. And also, I've got a quote I want to read to you from Andreas. I actually reached out to him this morning, and I said, what was Mike like for the Flyers? And I'm going to read it to you. He said, Mike was a great guy to be around on and off the court. Smart, skilled, big, with a great feel and understanding of the game. Pleasure to coach, represented the club in a great manner, and played a big part in the success we had those years. And it's not just the fans that appreciate the time you gave to the club. Obviously, Andrea still thinks very, very highly of you. What was it like playing for him?
It's great. Yeah, it's great to hear that. He was one of my favorite coaches to play for. He brought such a passion and a zest for the game, and he was such a smart coach as well, and taught me a lot about the game and a lot about the defensive end and how to become sort of challenge myself more on that end of the game, and help me develop into the player I am today. So I'll always be sort of fortunate for that. But no, he was really, really fun to play for, defensive minded, 40-minute coach, high energy, demanded a lot of you, but, really, really pushed you to reach your potential.
And one of those seasons, I think it was the 2017-2018 season, you got a chance to captain the club. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was a really humbling experience. It was an honour to captain the club. I know there was a bit of changeover, and they'd lost a few sort of veterans of the club, like Greg Street and Roy Owen, who set such a great example for the club, and could see what it meant to, just not the guys around, but the community in Bristol. So I try to get around that and try to get around the club and just give as much of my knowledge and leadership to the group and to the city, and hopefully left a good mark on the town.
You left a good mark because, like I said, fans that reached out to us, they wanted to hear from you, which is great because you've been gone from the club for will be 5 years now, won't it? I'll talk about your final season there, because when you came back in 2018-19, you only played half the season because you had this spell where obviously you went from the Flyers, you had the Commonwealth Games, which we'll talk about in a moment, obviously your season in Australia, and then you came back to the Flyers for half the season in your final year. At that point in your career, you were pretty much playing all year round basketball, weren't you?
Yeah. I think there was about 5 or 6 years in the end where I was kind of playing in the BBL in the UK League, roughly 40, 50 games, and then coming back to Australia and sort of catching the tail end of the State League season for probably the last 9 or 10 games, and then whatever finals games after that. Have a little break and then back over to the UK. So it was full on at the time, but it meant that I was always kind of in shape and ready to go, which was nice, and just lucky the body sort of held out for such a strong period, I guess.
And you get to avoid pre-season training, I suppose. But
definitely in Australia, yeah.
Was that the point when you realised I just can't keep doing this all year round? Because I know Josh Wiltshire used to do a lot of it as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean it's probably the sad part of basketball or sport in general, the injuries. But I was pretty fortunate. I had been a bigger guy, kind of had a few injuries earlier on, and managed them as well as possible, and it sort of led to that sort of, I guess, middle prime time or early 30 part of my career being quite healthy and being able to do it and play back to back. It was all good in the end, which was I was fortunate for.
Let's talk about the Commonwealth Games. You got the opportunity to represent Scotland. Did you reach out to them, or did they reach out to you?
I remember mentioning early on, and it was kind of through when playing against the Glasgow Rock, that always kind of have a conversation with someone, who's coaching Team Scotland. Is there any trials? Is there, chances for this Commonwealth Games? I was always interested in it. It's something I kind of knew about. And then I remember someone reached out about a pre-season camp up in Edinburgh, which I travelled up for with my partner. We stayed in Edinburgh for a weekend and got to train and be around the coach at the time, who was Tony Garbaletto. Did a camp with Team Scotland, which was good. And then, funny enough, leading up into the Commonwealth Games, an ex-coach of mine, Rob Beveridge, who coached me at the Perth Wildcats, ended up having the Scotland job, so I kind of rekindled with him. And that was kind of for Team Scotland.
And what was that experience like? Is I don't want to talk about the semi-final against Australia too much, but obviously in the group stages, you're paired with England and you finished the group top. How was that for you?
Yeah, we had our opening game against Team England and Coach Kapoulis and an ex-teammate of mine down at Dozy. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. A very, again, another fiercely competed game. And we ended up getting out on top and ended up having a good game myself to get over the line, which was got us off to a great start and ended up having a good group stages. But the experience overall, we ended up fourth, losing to New Zealand in the bronze medal match. But I don't know many were tipping us to win a game to start with. So it was an unreal experience.
I won't talk about the result against Australia in the semi-finals, but obviously, you were born in Scotland, but you are Australian. What was it like going up against Australia in that game for you personally?
For me personally, yeah, it was a battle. I remember thinking it was another level of competition. Everything was just so fast. I mean, everyone was so strong. I was playing against a couple of ex teammates of mine, and Jesse Wagstaff and Damien Martin from the Wildcats, and just seeing knowing those guys out there, and just seeing how well they competed and how well drilled they were, and it was just a really, really fun experience to try and compete against people at that level. That's what you always look for, I guess, as an athlete.
Before we leave Bristol behind, then, is there anything you want to say to the fans back in Bristol who still look fondly back on your time with the club?
Look, I just say, big appreciation from the bottom of my heart for my time in Bristol. If it's probably feels like home in the UK, outside of Aberdeen, Scotland. It's probably, my favourite place. I had a great 3 years there, and the fans made me feel welcome. Even inviting me into their own homes for a Sunday roast and a cup of tea. I'll always look back on those memories as fun ones. The unwavering support on the court. Always felt back no matter the result, and always felt welcome at the Flyers family. And I keep an eye on. I keep looking. I was looking at the result from the weekend, and it's always hard when you see results like that when you're a Flyers fan. But it's good to see the team's success over the years, and they're still going strong, and everyone's behind them.
Brilliant. And then after you left Bristol, you went back down to Australia and you're playing for the Lakeside Lightning. And this happened to be a period, obviously, when COVID takes over the world. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was different. There was no Americans in the league, so it was just kind of locals and Aussies, I guess, out here. So it was a fun time, and it was a time where you are just playing for the love of the game. So it was interesting to see the ones that would sort of still play, and the ones that were there for the financial gains, I guess. But it was a period of just getting back to enjoying the game and a bit of a refresher after going season to season and thinking how do you move on? How do you move up? And where are you playing next? Just to be at home playing with friends and with family around was it was a good little refresher in the career, I think.
And I forgot you also had a little spell in Italy, didn't you? Was it
Yeah,
Altamura? Is that correct? I'm trying to get the pronunciation right.
yeah, Altamura.
And what was that like for you? That would have been the third tier of Italian basketball. Is that right?
Yeah, it's called C Gold. So they had A1, A2, and C Gold. They've now just introduced the B, which is Silver League. So it's kind of changed since I was there. But played, in Puglia, the province of Puglia, for a team called Altamura, which is called sort of the English translation of the City of Bread. So I don't know how you can have a bad time in the City of Bread. So no, it was a lot of fun.
And obviously, you've been playing in England for years, but in Australia, how would that? Did you have an agent at the time, or just someone approached you?
Yeah, no, he has an agent, a guy that I'd had sort of from the NBL days, a guy I played with in Plymouth, put me onto him. Dwayne Bailey put me onto an agent, and then he ended up finding this in Italy, and I had a great time. It was right in the south of Italy, so the food was great, the wine was great, the basketball was good, and it was a great time.
And then if I'm correct, after Archimura, you're basically returned to Australia for good. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that was kind of when COVID sent me home, and I was sort of, what would I have been, 31, and I was thinking, do I want to play? And I got married at the time, and I kind of bought a house, and actually got a little one on the way. So I've kind of hit that next stage of my life where I'm still playing here at the state league, but just here all year round now, and yeah, hitting this next stage of life.
And that would be, again, to try the pronunciation, Willetton Tigers. Would that be right?
Yeah, the Willetton Tigers, spot on.
I'm getting good with these pronunciations. It's just, I always know Australia. I've got to be very careful what you say because it could be completely different. So that's where you've
Yeah.
been since 2021. So for those listening, what sort of level are the Tigers playing at?
So the Tigers are now in the NBL one, and which is kind of the second division out here on the west coast. So there's five sort of tiers in that second division all over Australia. So it's a very competitive level. It's I guess the state league level for us. And yeah, it's been a blast to be still playing out here for the last few years, sort of finishing the career. Still going on again to play next year for the Wellington Tigers, which will be year 18 for me in the NBL one. And it's I'd probably put it somewhere between, if I had to compare it to somewhere between the BBL in the UK, or what's it called now, the SPL, and the and Division One in England as well. So it's somewhere in between there, I'd say.
And what's it like, Pace team? Is it like mainly Australians, or do you have imports at this level? Is it semi-pro,
Yeah,
or is it amateur, or is it professional?
it's semi-professional. So you have two Americans or two imports, and then you have a couple of Aussies, that probably two or three of them that sort of make a wage out of it, and then a few young guys as well.
So it's mostly guys with day jobs playing basketball weekends and whenever, yeah.
Yeah, you have maybe two or three guys that are doing it full time. They're probably your Americans.
So you're now balancing family life, work, and basketball, and still enjoying it all.
Correct. Yeah, look, it's. I mean, I've got a baby due on April 21st, so that's going to probably spice a few things up in life. But yeah, balancing work, which I'm lucky enough to. I coach basketball full time, so still involved in basketball all year round, which is nice to give back a little bit to the next generation coming through, and then still playing a little bit myself. And no, it's all going well out here in Australia, enjoying the sunshine, and yeah, can't wait for this next stage of family life.
I'd say it'd be a lot more sunshine in Perth than there is in Bristol. I know that for a fact. So just looking forward, I mean, I don't want to put a date or anything on it, but what do you feel you'll do when it comes time to hang up the boots? So do you think you'll still stay involved in basketball somehow, or maybe move on, do something else?
No, I think I'll definitely stay in basketball. It's always been a big love of mine, and yeah, I think I've got a lot to sort of give back and pass on to the next generation, and that's what I hope to do. And I've been doing it for so long. It's kind of feel what I'm good at as well, and I've got a passion for. So try and make a little bit of a career out of coaching in the sort of senior level or junior level, and see where it takes me. But for now, it's yeah, it's all going well, and can't complain.
Lovely. I wish you all the best with the baby. Well, bringing obviously career goes. I'd love to talk to you before we finish about Australian basketball, because obviously you played for Wildcats, so that'd been over a decade, just over a decade ago.
Mhm.
How has the NBL in Australia changed from then to now? Because from abroad, it looks like it's a league that's grown in popularity.
Yeah, it's gone gangbusters. I mean, it was already growing kind of when I was coming in. We used to play at a stadium, Challenge Stadium, which held about 5,000 5,000 people. And then I think it was my second year at the Wildcats, we moved into the Perth Arena, which was a capacity of 14,000, and just seeing how they sell that out every week now. And I still try to get down to the games to sort of support them. And, you never see it under 12,000 people in that arena. And then the rest of the league, it's gone from strength to strength as well. And it's grown in popularity, tenfold since I was a development player, and seeing, a lot of the locals get an opportunity to play at this level. And they say, it's probably a top 5 or even higher, top, 3 league in the world right now. And there's a lot of pathway for Australians. You're seeing them, more and more of them, feed through to the NBA. And it's, I feel like basketball's in a very healthy place in Australia just now.
Obviously, you have your cricket, you have your Aussie rules. Where's the hierarchy for basketball in Australia? Whereabouts?
It's funny because I saw a stat the other day, and it said that basketball was the most junior participated sport in Australia as of last year. So it was very popular. In terms of the professional level, you're probably looking at, AFL is probably the number 1 still, which is your Aussie rules football. Then you probably got basketball and cricket, I'd say, in that sort of second tier, with basketball probably, rapidly rising each year.
You'd put it up with cricket. That's
Definitely.
That's how much it's risen. So what's their media coverage like? Again, do you get a lot of games on TV, or is it paid, like free TV or pay TV?
Yeah, it's paid TV. It's on ESPN now, 2-3 times a week. Almost every game is televised. I think they've got a new deal potentially coming in on free to air, which they used to have. So I think that's going to help it grow, and a few new teams. So it's still expanding. But yeah, it's taken off for sure.
And from your point of view, does it bring in a lot of new fans to the game that obviously if they don't go to the Wildcats, they come and see maybe a Tigers game?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like the NBL one as well has taken off. With the NBL going the way it is, it's kind of piggybacking off of it, and it's now being streamed on online every game. So sometimes still have family in Scotland that try and watch the games online. So it's getting a lot more coverage, and a lot more fans to the games, and people are really putting in time and effort into the community level to build it. And then now you see some stadiums hitting 2,000-3,000 at the NBL one level. And we made a grand final, which was at RSC where the Wildcats are, and we had about 6,000 or 7,000 at the grand final in the NBL one. So it's definitely growing in spectators.
So, if there's any fans in the UK, then they could watch your games if they wanted to.
Yep, they could do on the NBL One West website. They have all the games streamed on there.
But I'll make sure to put a link in when I do this episode. And then when I spoke to you the other week, you were saying you're in pre-season training. So when does the season start?
April, the first weekend of April, the season starts. So we have about another 8-12 week pre-season where we get back on the court, start doing all the running and the fun stuff to get ourselves in shape for the season. And then it'll run from April through to about August.
And then just obviously at this level, how often are you training? How many times a week would you?
Monday, Wednesday, Sundays. So it will be sort of Monday night on the court doing some running, and then team practice for probably 2.5-3 hours. And then Wednesday night in the gym for an hour into 2 hours on court. And then Sunday the same, an hour in the gym and then 2 hours on court.
And after 18 years, you're still enjoying it?
I'm trying to find little ways to keep myself entertained and keep it all nice and fun and useful for myself.
Listen, it's been absolutely wonderful to get you on the podcast today. And I know, like I said, there's some Bristol Flyers fans who will be happy that you've agreed to come on. I look forward to listening to it. So I'll make sure when we run the episode to plug, obviously, the website. So if any fans want to watch your games from April onwards, they can do so. But for now, Mike, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast today.
No worries. Thanks for having me so much.
And finally, if you're enjoying what we do, please make sure to like, subscribe, or even share the pod on your social media. Every little bit of support helps. Until next time, my name's Niall Gray. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to the Eurostep Brit podcast, a hoops and hockey production.